Pam, 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 pam. Nézzük Twitch-en, Facebookon. Pam, pam. And we are live. All right. Hello, heroes. This is the very first episode of a new series called Tuesday Tournament Reviews. My name is Valdemar Kwaysser. You may also know me as Luigi. I have a career of like 15 years as a poker player and more than 10 years as a poker coach. And I have around $7 million winnings live and online combined. And I was one of the steadiest winners in mid-stakes tournaments. 1 second, I'm sharing some screen. And in 2018, I decided to quit the grind because I was both a coach and a student in BidB staking, the staking group of Patrick Leonard, European, Elmerix, 3 guys who I respect a lot, and I think they are definitely top players. But I found the teaching and learning method not efficient too much. This is not specifically for BidB staking, but for all the staking groups. I found that we make things too complicated, and this is especially true for newcomers who would like to get engaged with the game, who would like to see some easy learning materials. So I decided to design a new tool called Check Decide, and now Check Decide is live, checkdecide.com. This is the first interactive replayer where you can upload a hand or upload the full tournament, get it reviewed very quickly, and you can compare the decisions. Since 2018, I've been developing this site full-time, and I also do some private coaching. And today we have a special guest, a student of mine, Roland Szabó. He's a former professional basketball player. He will he will tell us if that's true or not. I know you played basketball on a high level, Roland. Welcome to
Yeah, that's correct. I played professionally for a year, but I played college in America for like 5 years. I came back to Europe to play. I got hurt, so my professional career wasn't too long, but yeah, I played on a pretty high level.
All right. Could you please tell us a little bit about your poker background? How long have you been playing poker? What's your overall level, and what are your main goals in poker?
Yeah, of course. So I'm 29 right now. I started when I was 15, just watching the World Series of Poker coverages and stuff like that. After that, we started playing with buddies at home for like €2 sitting goals or whatever. Like not everybody does. So I lived in Sopron, which is close to Austria, and Austria had a bunch of casinos with live poker. So first I started going there at the age of 16, which underage, which is not the best thing, but whatever. I started playing there live, and then I started playing online in 2009. My level is I think is okay. Started working with Luigi like 2 months ago. Since then, I improved a lot, but still losing player, but getting there slowly but surely, I think.
All right. Thank you for your honesty. Actually, I think you have what is most important. You're definitely a competitive person who is not afraid of going for a big win, which we will see now. Let me spoil a little bit. You don't win this, but you finished third, and it was a great run. But also we were able to detect some major leaks in your game, but we are here to fix them, and we are here to talk about them. So 1 second. I'm new to this streaming world. I have to reorganize things a little bit. And yeah, all right. So how check the site works, if you upload a tournament like you did, first of all, you can do it in a few seconds. And then whoever you share your tournament with sees this exactly the same decisions as you did when playing the hand. So for example, in this hand, we were on the big blind, a guy limped under the gun, and now we have a decision pre-flop whether to raise or check. We obviously check. There is no reason to raise here, and on the flop we check fold. And this way, I was able to review your whole tournament without typing a word. And after I finished with the tournament, we are able to check which hands I deviated from your original play and how much I deviated. So this takes the steps into account and also the sizings into account. So we can see that with the first 4 hands, we have nothing really to talk about. We basically agreed. But on the 5th hand, we probably have some. This is a frequent leak of yours, like overplaying offsuit aces a little bit too much, and also calling too much from the small blind. From the big blind, this would be a fine call because you get great odds. It is absolutely sure that no one will raise behind you. So after you invest your chips, you are guaranteed to see a flop. But this is not the case when you're calling from the small blind. When you're calling from the small blind, first of all, one of the most frequent outcomes are going to be a 3-way pot with the big blind joining. And ace-deuce offsuit is definitely not a hand which performs good in three-way pots. So this is a major leak. And also, what you have to invest to take a shot on the flop is way much more than what you have to call from the big blind. So these two combined makes these calls like definitely losing plays. This would be fine with ace-deuce suited. And many times I get the question like, hey, Luigi, you only make like flushes like 2% of the time. I don't even know. But this is not what matters. What matters is that you can flop a flush draw and play it aggressively and fold out some better hands. You can flop a gut shot and turn a flush draw, and therefore you can get to the river and you can hit your original gut shot. Or it just turns out that your opponent bluffs with a 10 high straight draw and gives up on the river, and you win with ace high. And all this happens because at some point of the hand you pick up a flush draw and you are able to continue. And this is what makes suited hands much better than offsuit hands. And yeah, on the flop, I think it's very trivial to just check fold. Yeah. And the next hand is also probably problematic. The open raise size is fine. Maybe we can raise a slightly bigger, but whatever, it's fine. And on this flop, like the imposition caller usually has a ton of like what do you think? What are the types of hands a player calls here from the button?
Like obviously suited broadways, and I don't think his range is super strong, but yeah, this board can pretty much hit his range very hard.
Yeah, like it is much more likely to play with suited hands. So with some like we can say that he flopped the flush like 20% of the time or something like that. Maybe this is not true because the board also blocks some combinations, but definitely a high portion of the times he's already a flush. And on the other hand, he also can have some Jack X hands which you never fold out, and yeah, and we haven't even talked about the big blind, who can also have some suited combinations, some Jack X hands, And even if they don't have like a jack or a flush, they can still have a bunch of like flush draws, and you will have a very hard time driving this hand into showdown as a winning hand, even against a weaker range. So I think a very tiny bet may make sense against some very honest passive type players, but in general, yeah, this is okay. Like a 1/3 pot bet cannot be really bad, but we definitely don't want to invest too much more. In reality, maybe the turn bet, like in practice, can be okay, because you charge the draws a little bit, but
bigger sizing product.
no, like that's just too risky. Then you run into flushes and jacks. So this is the problem with c-betting, that you drive yourself into like very tough situations on the turn and on the river as well, with very marginal holdings. And yeah, but so far I'm quite okay. But on the river, I don't really get why you bet. Could you please break it down?
I don't have an honest explanation. I remember that this was the Bounty Builder series, and I had like 6 tables running. So I believe this was the smallest tourney. I was just clicking buttons and paying more attention to the higher stakes. But I would definitely not bet this river. This is terrible. Just looking at it.
Like it can work as a blocking bet, and maybe if you are like, this is a $2 tournament. Let's be realistic. So they can have some hands like A7, even offsuit A7 sometimes, and another like 9/7 offsuit. So in practice they may work. These bets may work, but in general, I would like to see a flop check and probably giving it up, and not driving most of your chips in with a very marginal holding in a very like questionable situation. In general, what you want to, like, whenever you make a bet, you have to be able to name one of the 3 reasons. So it can be a value bet, which means that there is a realist, like majority of the hands that call your bet are worse hands than yours. And a bluff, the definition of a bluff is like, you have a realistic chance to fold out better hands. And the third reason can be a protection bet, or if you are on the river, a very tiny blocking bet, which takes away the opportunity, the bluff opportunity from our opponent. But yeah, like none of the reasons really stand for any of the streets. So in general, I try to, like, even if we can put reasons behind this, all the bets on all the streets, in general, I like to avoid big pots with marginal holdings in low stakes tournaments. You will have much easier time to commit chips with a big advantage. So if you always build these pots, this probably turned out good. But if you always build these spots with marginal hands, then you probably burn half of your stack, 2/3 of your stack, just way too often, especially considering like how weak these fields are. But whatever, like it works, so let's not over criticize it. Yeah. The 10th hand is King Queen hand, and this guy who limbed in the very first hand limbed once again. So we have a reason to think that he's a recreational player. If not for us, then for the $2 buy-in. And yeah, like I think raising is fine. Your hand plays good, but on the other hand, we only have 24 big blinds, so he may decide to like limp jam with deuces or 6s or like ace-10 or whatever he thinks he can play a good pot for your bounty. So that's why I decided to rather just check. if we were deeper, I would definitely raise, because then the likelihood of him limp raising is just much lower. And let's see. Yeah, if he raised and had the small blind checked, I would probably c-bet this texture, because contrary to common belief, flush draw flops have higher immediate fold equity. So if you see a flush draw flop and you are considering making a very tiny bluff c-bet, then you will succeed more often on a flush draw flop, because rainbow flops have offer many, like 3 backdoor flush draw opportunities for your opponent. So if they are really sticky and they like to go for the long shots with the backdoors, then they will find more hands to call your bet on a rainbow flop. And on a flush draw flop, you have like 2 of the colors are like completely missed, and therefore your immediate fold equity with a small bet will work like it is higher. But given that they made a donk bet in front of you, you can just safely fold. Yeah.
Would you, if it checks me, you would like a 4K bet is fine here, or
even smaller probably, just to really just to fold out some pocket fours or like really weak holdings which could either bluff or realize equity against you. But obviously we are not really bluffing. Like with king queen, we don't have much better hands to fold out with a small bet, but probably can work like just to deny equity from like jack 10 of spades, which could pick up spades on the turn and bluff us out or something like that. But yeah,
okay,
it's fine. The next hand, we raised from the cutoff against aggressive players. Like this is something which I wanted to mention. So the starting stacks were around 25,000, right?
25,000, yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen you starting this tournament with 25. Yeah, that's fine. But the blinds level are quite advanced. Like, did you make a late reg?
Yeah, absolutely, the rave reg. I just played all the Bounty Wheeler series running up to like $50. So this was the last one. I just click in there.
Like, obviously, like when you are playing at the very bottom of your buying range, then you may not want to take it super seriously. But in case someone is grinding this professionally, I would really like to highlight that late regging bounty tournament is just a big waste of equity. So I really advise not to late reg bounty tournaments. Maybe like 15-20 minutes, that's fine, but you don't want to, like, early in a bounty tournament you can find a lot of very highly plus EV situations, because the bounties are worth around 25-30% of the starting chips, and this means that a guy can have a 50 big blind bounty on his head, and this gives you a lot of opportunities to gamble with really high plus EV. And if you late reg, you first of all you give up on these opportunities, and on the other hand, the weakest guys are already left the tournament when you start playing. So that's not what you want. In a normal regular tournament, it is fine to late reg. Actually, as long as you want, probably your EV raises because you are getting closer and closer to money. And even if you are short stacked, your overall expected value goes up. But this is not true in bounty tournaments. And going back to this Jack 10 hand, And 1 second, like someone has commented, or 1 second, I'm new to this. Let's see. Adrian Dominguez from Facebook asked whether in the previous hand with King Queen, checking allows us more value to gain more value from some King Jack and King 10, and that's fine. Like that, this is a very, very valid comment. But on the other hand, we don't have any backdoor flush draw which would help us get to the showdown. So when we don't have any real backdoors and we are three-handed, then we will have trouble getting to the showdown. So many times a King Jack just picks up a 10 on the turn and makes a medium-sized bet, and we have to fold out or fold our King Queen. So this is probably not the spot where we want to keep in too many dominated hands. But against like stronger oppositions who would float more and like make your life hell, and probably not limp calling with hands like Jack 10 offsuit or something like that, which I can easily imagine from this guy. Then probably we have to check this spot. But against weaker guys, I think c-betting very small is fine. Yeah. Adrian is also saying in Facebook that he loves these reviews, and he's apologizing for posting too much hands to our Discord channel. You should definitely not apologize, Adrian. Like, you are very, very welcome to post any hands to our Discord channel. We have a reviews place section, so if you upload any hand to check this side and you link it to our Discord channel, I guarantee those hands will be reviewed, and either me or Belabachi or any other guys from our crew will comment on the hands and give you some general guidelines. And yeah. And some spamming is going on. And also Baba Booey, I'll shout out to Baba Booey. He's a great guy. He says we want to see bet rainbow flops more than 2-ton boards. I would not say this generally. Probably this is too broad a question to give a general rule of thumb. But what we definitely know is that on flush draw flops, on flush draw flops, you have more immediate fold equity. So you generally want to use smaller sizes on flush draw flops because you have your opponent probably has more like absolute airs. They have to fold to even like a 1BB c-bet. All right. Adrian is asking whether whether I will review his deep run. We can talk about that, Adrian. Definitely, yeah. All right, let's get back to this Jack 10 suited hand. And yeah, one thing I want to mention that in general, when there is a significant bounty on your head, and in this case, the default bounty, even though it's just $1, it means like 8 to 10,000 chips in chips value, and this means that you are with an open raise, you are offering 1,600 chips. Plus, your opponents can win another 10,000 if they go all in and they get lucky against you, or they win. Like if you happen to call and they win, then they get your bounty as well, which is worth 10,000. And this makes these situations like very questionable for you to open raise. And if you play against some like very passive guys, this is fine. You can still open raise quite wide. But if you are playing against some skilled players, then you have to be aware that they will like rejam you basically with any two cards. Like if I see something like this, like guys open raising with 20 big blinds, having a more than 10 BB worth bounty on their head, I would resteal with probably any two, because I would probably fold out his original raise like 60% at least, or 70%, and then we have to play basically a flip with all the dead money involved. And yeah, but against passive guys you can raise. And on this flop, you generally want to be very, very cautious when you raise from the cutoff and the button calls and there is any Broadway on the flop, because as you mentioned earlier, like the imposition calling ranges are very weighted towards like Broadway type hands. And also on this texture, if you make a small C bet, you can probably expect like hands like King 10 of clubs, King 10 of hearts, like Ace 5 of hearts to float against a small C bet. So even though it looks like a very dry flop where you may think you get away with a small C bet, this is not true in general, especially if you're in position, if the villain is like a tighter guy or someone who just floats a lot. But still, with this hand, like this strong of backdoors, like you can probably make two small C bets against a not world class player. So you make your small C bet. He probably is going to float you with a lot of ace highs, even without a backdoor flush draw, and then on the turn, you can probably make another tiny C bet, a tiny barrel, and you can probably fold out a lot of ace highs, a lot of like king high type floats. So I like C betting this against this weak of a player. And against, if you check, then we face a 1 BB bet. I don't know, like this is very like stake specific. But I think like check calling is probably fine. Maybe they give up on the turn, and then you can make a tiny bluff on the river, or you just pick up some equity on the turn. But yeah, it doesn't really matter on the turn. We fold, yeah. And let's see the next hand where we like disagreed. Maybe this ace-8 suited hand. Yeah, we make a small raise and we face a quite big 3-bet, and you decided to call. What do you think? Like, first of all, this squeezing range is it rather like strong or
I remember this table because it was like a week ago, so I remember the play. So the player on my left he limps with everything, and the guy on my right was kind of raising a lot. So I figured his range wasn't too strong. That's why I don't like the call, and I like a shove more than now. So
yeah, but in general,
it's either a fold or a shove.
Yeah, like the problem with the call, even if he's like light quite often, and light means that he makes this squeeze with king queen, king jack, some ace highs, etc., or ace 10, ace jack, ace 9. First of all, many of his bluffs still dominate your hand. So ace 10 off, he can perfectly do this with, and that still is a better hand than yours. And the other problem is that you have to pay a very large portion of your stack to see a flop. So even if it's suited, you will not get away with this. Like you put in like 1/3 of your stack just to see the flops. Do you have any like rough estimation, like what frequency you are going to flop a pair with in No Limit Hold'em? Like if you have a non-pair hand and you see a flop?
You kind of put me a spot with that. I don't want to say a stupid number, so I just let you tell me. I learn it now.
Like this is not like super important and may also be wrong, but somewhere around like 28%. So more than 70% you are just going to miss with your flush. Like with your suited hand, you may flop some flush draws and may flop some other draws, but it is hard to flop flush draws or straight draws with this holding. So you will definitely not going to like you are not going to win with this call. And yeah, like we have some backdoors, but I don't think we can commit our chips with that. And like I just think that if he has something like ace king or ace jack, then he probably jams the flop anyway. So we cannot really fold out better ace highs. And he can have some hands like jacks he may go tricky with, or like ace queen, like ace queen of spades. I think the likelihood of running into some strangely played monsters is just much higher than actually folding out a better hand. Sometimes maybe we can fold out, like we could fold out like pocket sevens, but that's about it. Yeah, and on the flop we want to fold.
I hate this hand.
Yeah, and also Jiggly Bluff from Twitter says that in low limit BB 3-betting is rarely a bluff. I can agree with that, especially if they 3-bet against a relatively early position. So you have to differentiate between aggression in late position and aggression against early position. This is very like the same player can behave very differently in the two spots. So a very valid comment from Jiggle Bluff. Thank you. And the next hand is 9-5 suited, and we face a 3BB open from a guy who never really raised before. And we get a call from the button, and we still somehow managed to put chips into the pot. I guess you
just clicking and paying attention to the $22 tournament.
Okay. So I don't have to break it down why this call will not be good. Like even if this was a hand like 9-8 of suit or 9-7 of suit, you should still have to fold, because offsuit hands just don't perform well in 3-way or 4-way pots. So you just have to fold. Yeah. The next hand is a similar spot, probably, or no. Yeah, like this is somewhat different because this time we are in position to the raiser, but on the other hand, like the guy made a relatively small raise out of position to an open limp. So I would figure this is a very this is a range of very playable hands, like something like 10-8 suited and better, mostly suited broadways, some strong pocket pairs maybe, but maybe not. Maybe he raises bigger with those, but in general, I don't think we do too good against this kind of a range. So I would still fold this hand. But calling this is definitely a smaller mistake than the earlier call, especially given that this Moir 06 guy is probably not Phil Ivey here. So yeah. Yeah, you just have to fold. And the next hand where we disagreed is this pair of checks. Yeah, this is a tricky hand, probably. No, not really. Yeah, we can just jam. This is a very frequent situation in low stakes tournaments that people have different raise sizes with different type of holdings. So what is very common is that they raise big with their big hands and they raise small with their small hands. So whenever they have something like ace nine offsuit or ace nine suited, they raise small because they just want to take a cheap shot on stealing the pot. And when they have something like pocket nines, pocket eights, pocket tens, ace king, etc., then they raise big. And given that we cover him, we can definitely go for full stacks in a bounty tournament, especially that he has bigger than the normal size bounty. So this bounty probably is worth around like 14,000 chips, which is good enough to go for this stack. And I think we get much more calls by just simply pushing all in, because then he doesn't get suspicious with hands like pocket nines, pocket eights, pocket tens. They just say that this is probably ace king, so I have to take this flip, and they are very happy to just stack off. But luckily we got his stack anyway, and yeah, this is fine. Actually, in low stakes tournaments, I often do something like, if I see a 3-bet from someone who barely made any 3-bet earlier, like having an overall 3-bet frequency of like 3%, then I very often jam 200 big blinds with aces or kings, because they are just unable to fold even like pocket nines to that move, because they just say that, hey, this is ace king, and I have to take this. Yeah, let's see the next one. Yeah, this is like, if we take the charts, like Monker Solver, you may be familiar with some of those charts, like when they put in like 4 or 6 robots or 9 robots to play hands, and they come up with a GTO strategy, a game theory optimal strategy. Then you would probably find this king 9 of suit as a defend, even against a 3x open. But in practice, I think, first of all, these 3x opens are somewhat stronger than their normal cutoff open. And on the other hand, you will have quite hard time compensating for the very expensive price you pay for the pot. You probably have to check raise a ton, but whatever. Like, this is very marginal, but I think you get yourself into a lot of marginal spots by calling here. I think folding is fine. I would call with king 9 suited or king 10 of suit, so it's quite close. Yeah. What do you think about his check behind range on this texture? Like, he decided he made a big raise pre-flop, and then he checked on this 9-7 trade flush draw.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he checked behind with some equity, so he probably have the ace of spades. I would think he would check that. Yeah, but I think he's weak here, so I would say with his check, he's pretty weak. So I think I actually bet the turn here as well.
Yeah, like when we come to probing the turn, this is the situation which is called probing the turn, when you defended the big blind, the flop went check, and you are deciding whether to bet or check on the turn. There are two like very classic situations. The one is when the check behind range is very weighted towards mate hands. This is the situation when your opponent checks behind something like King 7 deuce rainbow, which highly favors his range, which could be an easy c bet with any bluffable card. So in this case, especially in practice, their check behind range mainly contains hands like pocket queens, pocket jacks, or if it's King 7 deuce, then Ace 7, or some kind of like second pair type, mostly mate hands. Sometimes hands like Ace Queen as well, Ace Jack as well, or I see frequently from some beginner students of mine to check behind like pocket trays on King 7 deuce, because they just feel like unsure about their holding. But in general, they could get away with a range small c bet on King 7 deuce, but they don't. They almost exclusively check behind a certain type of holding, which is like second pair type hands. And in this situation, which is not what we see on the screen right now, in that situation, we can. We have a relatively easy way to proceed on the turn. We can make huge bets with any of our King X hands, even like King 4 with the smallest possible kicker. We can still overbet the turn probably, because we can be very, very certain that our king is good enough. And we do this to be able to execute a lot of semi bluffs on the turn. So if you pick up a gut shot, or we pick up a flush draw, or even we just have a weak ace, which is never good in showdown, but can pick up, can like hit an ace on the river, we can still probably bluff that if we don't have any better combination to bluff on a dry turn. And the other like very classic situation for probing the turn is when the flop was like hard to see bet, like gave a lot of connection to the big blind. The best experience is like the best example for this is when the flop is something like 8 6 4 7 5 4 or something like that, which gives a lot of like offsuit two pair combinations, offsuit straight combinations to the big blind, and therefore we have to be very, very careful with c betting, because we can face a lot of check raises. And on this texture, the imposition player is forced to check behind a lot of ace high combinations, king high combinations, which are classified as like very close to air hands. And on these textures, we can the big blind can make a ton of very small turn probes, like one third pot on the turn, even without any equity at all. And the big blind has the imposition player still has a hard time reacting to those tiny bets. And what we see on the screen now is a mixture of the two, because it's not really hard to see bet this texture. This is not like you don't have offsuit straight possibilities on the flop yet. You don't have too many offsuit two pairs. You probably don't call with 9th ray of suit. You probably don't call with 7th ray of suit. And against the 3x open, you probably don't even call with 9-7 of suit. So he should not really be scared of c-betting this texture, even though it may give you some connection with some 9x from some straight draws with your 10x type hands, but he should still be able to c-bet this flop like fairly wide. But in practice, when they don't, I would say that they are very, very weighted towards ace high hands. So I think betting very small with a wide range, like any gut shot, any flush draw, any pair, and you can even make small, like in practice, in theory, you should use two sizes and making bigger bets on the turn with some of your strong hands and some of your like lowest draws. But in practice, you can probably simplify to just have small bets on this turn. And yeah, I think a tiny bet is fine. A big bet doesn't really accomplish too much, other than like charging some specific hands, what you probably thought of, like ace high hands with the ace of spade. Against those hands, these bets are fine. But against the whole range, I think a small bet is just better, because yeah, this works. This big size, which you suggested or you executed, works better against that certain type of hand which you described, the ace king with the ace of spades. But if he somehow has like jack 10, then you charge yourself too expensively. Or if like if you check behind the flush draw somehow, which is possible, like ace 7 of spades, or just ace kings of spades, ace queen of spades, which is an okay check from his side, then you charge yourself too heavily. And on the river, I think we are fine betting. I would not go for his full stack, even though it's bounty tournament, and we would like to get those bounties. But this will sound strange, but like when you play in low stakes tournaments, you really want to pay attention to the population tendencies. And one of the strongest tendencies in low stakes bounty tournaments is that they just don't want to give you their bounty in like no way. Thanks to this, you can execute a lot more bluffs. Like here, you could have a ton of bluffs with like queen jack and what else, like 6, like any 8, some 6x type hands as well. So I would be very happy to go for their stacks with a bluff. But in practice, I expect them to overfold heavily to when you ask for the whole stack and for their bounty, and they tend to call somehow against the smaller bets when they just don't understand like why you didn't go for the bounty, or I don't know what the exact reasoning behind, but yeah, I like making those tiny exploits, or even huge exploits actually, if you are considering from a competent player's view. Did we disagree? Yeah, we did.
Probably just the sizing.
Yeah. For example, this texture is very good for your range. You have like more aces, kings, tens, ace king, and even like strong draws. You have more than him, so you can safely get away with a range C bet, especially against some like weaker or more passive guys. And on this turn, yeah, like it is quite questionable, but probably you can fire a second one, because your opponent still has a lot of like 10x hands, like even 10-7 of suit, 5-6 of suit, queen 9, or queen jack, or just some ace high hands with the ace of clubs, and those hands are either better than you, or they can bluff you on a lot of rivers. So and you, in general, you don't want to like with these stacks, you have to be careful using 2 good equity hands to fire huge on this turn, because if you, like, let's say you have like queen jack of clubs, which is one of the best draws possible. If you bet this big and your opponent happens to have some kind of two pair slow played, or just says that, hey, I have like king queen and now it's time to end the hand, and they go all in, then you waste a lot of equity. So you generally want to use like lower equity bluffs with this stack to pot ratio, and probably this gut shot with a weakish overcard is good enough. Also, having the 4 of clubs makes it a little bit less likely that your opponent has some kind of really strong draw, like 4-7 of clubs, and like, yeah. Well, this is probably not too relevant, but a big bet probably works fine here. And on the river, I don't think we should call. Yeah, they have a lot of like busted straight draws. But first of all, I think when they use this kind of sizing, this is designed to make it look cheaper. And unless your opponent is like a very exploitative, super high level thinker or anything, and then this is usually for value. And on the other hand, like you may have some like I would probably call against 11,000 with ace 5 and ace 3 and a lot of like other ace high hands that don't block any of the busted straight draws he can have. But against this sizing, I would be very conservative with my calls. I really believe in sizing tiles, especially in low stakes tournaments. Yeah, this is a tricky one. I actually made a note that I want to run PioSolver on this one, so I will do so, and I will post the results to our Discord server later today, because I'm fairly confused with this one. I think I have a pretty steady solution that can work in practice. First of all, on the flop, I think this is a texture which hits the imposition player quite a lot. Like he can have a lot of Queen X type hands, also some 10-9, which are probably not going anywhere and may be able to bluff us on later streets, and also some strong backdoors. And when we have a hand which will not really be able to value bet more than one street, and it is not really like vulnerable, like we don't have nines, we have jacks which don't suffer too much from overcards. And also, if an overcard hits a king or an ace, then probably our opponent will play fairly honestly and passively, because he would figure a king hits all range more than his. So in this case, I think checking is fine, or even just checking your whole range is fine on this texture. And on the turn, it is really tricky, because first of all, you still have much reason to believe that you have the strongest hand. On the other hand, you block quite a few of the strongest draws. So you don't really have to protect. But I think population, like when population checks in your shoes like twice on the flop and on the turn, then they are just almost always weak. They don't really check any ace-x on the turn, and therefore your opponent probably will think that your second check is weak and probably bets a little bit too much, which would lead us to consider calling one or two bets. I think instead of going into this tricky situation, what can work very well in practice is to make a very tiny kind of like blocking bet on the turn, because then you can do so with your weakest ace-x hand. You can do so with this hand, which simply just wants to block your opponent from running any major bluff on you. And yeah, you only get called with better hands here. I agree with that, and this is not generally what we want to execute. But in this situation, it is just so unlikely that your opponent can call you and bluff you on any river, especially that you have the pocket jacks with the jack of hearts. That probably makes your life just miles easier to bet here a tiny bet rather than checking and facing a big bet, which you probably have to fold against. I said fold against. And on the river, we face another bet, and I would if there is one thing which you take away from this this coaching session, is to fold to 1/3 river bets, like almost always. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, because population just doesn't bluff with 1/3 bet, 1/3 bets, or yeah, 1/4 bet or anything. So here we don't really we don't beat any of his value bets, and it is very, very unlikely that he bluffs here. If I do anything, then maybe I check jam, like based on the sizing and on the fact that we have 2 jacks. It is very unlikely that he can have like king jack. We also are not really likely to have king jack hands, but we may have hands like tens, or like a set of tens, or queen 10 or ace 10. But to be honest, I just check fold. Yeah, don't be a payoff wizard. Like, this is
I'll try to be the cash machine.
Yeah, even though you are a big stack at this stage, or relatively big stack, this is probably a too loose of an open. So I would suggest folding this. But in a weak field, you can probably get away with these light opens. Yeah, you don't need to bet huge on this texture. Like, if it was something like king 8-6, then maybe you could find some big bets, because unless you have 7-5 yourself, in general, he will have a lot more connection to those like 6 and 8. But on this texture, there are not really many hands that shifts the nut advantage to his side. So a tiny bet is fine, and then you don't charge yourself too expensively when in the cases when he has a king x and he doesn't fold. Yeah, giving up is fine. The next one is an ace 4. Yeah, once again. Yeah, no. I thought you would call, but yeah, like, he has a 14,000 bounty on his head, and he has a total stack of like 23,000. So I think jamming here, even with a very tiny fold equity, is probably going to be like profitable. Let's see these queens. Yeah. Talking about 3-bets, mainly you want to use small 3-bet sizes when the whole table is behind you, and you want to use bigger 3-bet sizes when there are only 1 or 2 players behind you. Simply, you just don't want to feed your opponents with too much chips when they happen to have some kind of monster they can react to your 3-bet. So as you won't always have a strong hand when you 3-bet here, you can 3-bet something like King 9 suited or Ace 9 suited here, which is fine. Then you don't want to offer too many chips, and you don't want to use different sizes when you have a strong hand or when you have a weaker hand. So a smaller 3-bet size is fine, but your opponent pays it anyway. And on this texture, it is somewhat tricky because you don't have too many top pair combinations. You have a lot of like ace king type. You 3-bet ace king offsuit all the time, and you have those which are, I'm not saying like airs on this texture, because they are still often the best hand against like ace queen, ace 10, king queen, but they are not like super strong on this texture by no means. And on the other hand, you have some overpairs like this one, and these situations in 3-bet pots often add up to big size c-bets. So your opponent has, contrary to you, your opponent has a lot of like top pair combinations, draw type combinations. You barely ever 3-bet here with 10-9 suited or queen 10 suited, or any jack, but he can have all of those. So in this case, you have to leverage your overpairs, and you have to find some other bluff type hands for yourself here, with which you can use with this bigger sizing. So yeah, so much talking for nothing. I thought you would see that small. Yeah, then just the preflop sizing. Yeah, sorry for wasting your time. All right. This is very questionable. I guess in a $2 tournament, you can probably get away with defending almost anything against an exact min raise, but this is definitely a marginal call. You can probably fold and do better. On the flop, I think calling is fine. The early position opener has a very strong range on this texture, but you have a gut shot with a backdoor flush draw, which is okay. And on the river, I still don't think we have too much showdown value, but there are 2 busted flush draws on the board, so I think checking is fine. Maybe betting 1 BB because he kept his range. We have an uncapped range. We can still have some tricky played like king jack or 2 pairs we can play this with, and this can actually work quite well because even with our value bets, even if you have some kind of monster, like if you have ace 6 here or ace 3 here, you have like almost absolute certainty that you have the best hand here, but there is a very low chance of your opponent paying you off because he would probably barrel almost all his ace-x hands on the turn. So when he checks the turn, he's kind of kept around queen x or 10x type hands. And in this case, if you make a tiny bet with your a6 or a3, you can achieve 2 things. First of all, he will probably pay you off with the queen x and 10x hands, and on the other hand, sometimes they do something silly just because you bet small. They can raise big, and you can still win a big pot. Whatever.
Easy money.
Yeah, in general, like his c-bet is perfectly fine. This texture is really his flop. Like he has a much stronger range here. But what he should have done is to actually triple barrel with these deuces. This is not a well-known fact, but on these textures where there are a lot of like pair plus straight draw, pair plus flush draw type hands. So imagine you could have something like 10-9 of spades, 10-7 of spades, king deuce of spades, jack 6 of spades, or even you can have jack 6 offsuit, which could probably call a tiny bet on the turn, but could never call a third barrel on the river. So in these cases, many players think that they should bluff hands that block like straights and two pairs. So they bluff hands like Jack 10, which is not correct. Like, yeah, you block the straights, you block the two pairs, but it is more important to not block any of the call fold hands like King Queen, Jack 10, 10-9 with spades, or like 6-7 with a spade, or with 6-7 of spades, or anything like that. So you have to take some balls to execute these kind of three barrels, but you can do it by betting really tiny on the flop, and this is definitely exploitative, because if we check the Pio solver, we would see that Pio starts with a half pot bet size on this texture, but you can start with a tiny bet, and what you achieve with this is that your opponent will barely ever slow play flop straights and flop two pairs, so they often check raise you, and this is good for you because you are planning to fire three barrels, and they save those barrels for you. So you can make a very tiny bet on the flop. If they don't check raise, and if the turn is a blank, you can fire a medium-sized bet on the turn, with the sole reason to keep in all the pair plus straight draw, pair plus flush draw type hands. And if you are lucky enough to get a blank river, you can fire either a big size bet or a medium size bet. In my experience, in low stakes, they don't really fold top pairs for any price, really. So you don't want to use two big sizes on the river. You can probably bet small on the river as well, like half pot. And what you achieve with this, you fold out all the King 10, Jack 10, Queen Jack, Queen 9, 10-7 of spades, 6-7 of spades, and King Deuce of spades, and all these hands. And you can still value bet some medium ace-x hands with this line probably. But I have to say that this is strictly an exploitative approach to this situation, which works fairly well both in low stakes and in mid stakes, because many players are not familiar with this, and you don't really see triple barrel bluffs on this texture from the population. And what is tricky in low stakes tournaments and in mid stakes tournaments is that the fields are really, really big, and you don't really have chance to build up individual reads on your opponents. So everyone goes with their reads on the population. So if you can find some spots where you can go against the population tendencies and still make a reasonable move, then those moves can really print, can really make you a lot of money. Was this clear, Rolly?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
All these jacks I was getting.
Yeah. Who's that? Like Doy Bronson, who never plays jacks, or he doesn't play ace queen, like
yeah, something like that. Shay, you can deal me every hand ace queen. I'll take it.
Those are tricky hands for sure. Yeah. Yeah, you use the bigger 3-bet sizing, which is probably fine, because you don't have too many 3-bet folds against this guy. But against him, you may want. But actually, you can have some 3-bet folds, because he will raise like very wide, given that the bounties on like the guys are really short on the big blind and on the small blind, so he can go for those bounties. And therefore, you can take some like ace-5 offsuit, or ace-9 offsuit, ace-8 offsuit type hands to 3-bet here, and with the intention to fold to a jam. And those moves will work very well. So therefore, I don't want to use this sizing, but I want to use the sizing which I can execute those bluffs with.
And for the bounty, sometimes they just make terrible calls. Like, for example, if one of the small or big blinds go only here, he would call with any two pretty much that I'm dominating superly. So
yeah, like they definitely go for the bounties very, very wide. But I would not call those calls like very bad, because these guys, like the bounty on them is close to half of his stack or more than half of his stack, so it is fine. The open is fine, especially given that you are one of the biggest stacks. And on this texture, yeah, you can make a small c-bet against weaker guys. But on the other hand, if you are up against some kind of really skilled player, that player would realize that given that the ace of spades is on the board, on the flop, and the 9, which is another like fairly important component of your potential flush, is on the flop as well. You have fairly limited flush combinations. You have some king x suited hands for flushes, but and obviously some queen x and jack x, but those are like just a few dozen of combinations, and therefore you should probably not c-bet your whole range against an aggressive player. But against a passive guy, you can probably get away with small c-bets. I would not bet this big, because you don't really achieve too much with this bet. Yeah, you can charge some stronger flush draws, but that's it basically. What was your reasoning behind this bet?
exactly what you said. I was thinking, okay, if he has a king of spade or a queen of spade, then if I size up, he will call anyways. And I have a spade in my hand, which kind of helps block the other spades to come. So that was the reasoning behind the bigger sizing.
Yeah, like I get what you're saying, but this shows a fairly frequent mistake in the thought processes of my students, which I experienced, that they or you put too much emphasis on the few combinations which actually has something to do with this texture. But you always have to keep in mind that your opponent is in here with hands like king 4 of clubs, or whatever, 5-4 offsuit with no spades, and like many hands which can't even call like a 1BB bet. And when you don't have something like ace deuce with the ace of spades, but you have something like 10-8 of hearts, which would really like to execute a successful c-bet on this texture and fold out like some king highs and queen highs and jack highs and small pocket pairs without a spade, etc. Then you would like to use the smallest possible c-bet, like the cheapest bluff possible. So therefore, also this ace deuce suited hand, if we go back to the 3 reasons we have mentioned earlier that whenever you execute a bet, you have to find one of the 3 reasons, whether to be a value bet or a bluff or a protection bet. And you don't really need to protect this kind of holding, because you are blocking these spades anyway. You will not really get a call from like straight draws without a spade, or not many combinations like that. Very often we are either way ahead, like our opponent is almost drawing dead, or we like sometimes we are behind against like 2 pairs or flop flushes, or something like set of 6s which play passively pre-flop. So considering the whole range, you should definitely use very tiny bets on this texture. and especially so against like some more passive guys. The flop c-bets are almost always about like folding out the trashy part of the range of your opponent, and we should consider like his real connections to the board from the turn and on the river. This is probably the best like summary of of the rambling of the last 5 minutes. Yeah, raising is fine. This is an interesting texture. If this was like a 6, then I would call this like no man's land, like a type of flop which didn't really change any of the starting ranges, the preflop ranges. But given the 9 is there, this gives some connection to the in-position player. If I had something like King 10 with the 10 of diamonds, I would probably consider making a medium-sized c-bet, but blocking only the backdoor flush draw and 2 weak overcards, I think check folding is fine. Check calling is not fine. Like, can you tell what? Like,
I just no, absolutely not. I'll fold definitely.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know why.
You don't
probably
really
getting too. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you are ready to commit like 7,000 chips, then just make a small c-bet. That's probably not terrible. You can fold out some better King X type hands like King Queen of clubs if he called that with, or King Jack of clubs, or something like that, and then you like clean your own outs. And if a 10 comes or a king comes, then you are probably ahead. While if you just check, then he will probably then those outs will not be really clean, and he will probably fire a second small barrel with a lot of marginal hands, and then you are just not able to get to the river. On this river, I think you don't really have any weaker hand than this, and yeah, it sucks that you that the flush completed, and you can easily run into some ace-x hands, but you still have to try a small bluff probably. So I would bet. I would not bet big, because I don't think your opponent has too many like 9x hands which we should pressure. He probably bets all his 9x hands, and he can definitely have some flushes, some ace-x hands. So a small bet is probably the best. And then you can lose a little bit less if you run to ace queen.
Total punt.
Yeah. Mere raising out of position, even if your hand is like very playable and it's fine. I don't really like this. Like, if we decide to build a pot, we should build a pot. In general, whenever we raise, we want to use a size which we can realistically bluff with. If we have some hands, but in this situation, we can probably make with this exploitative type raise. Our opponent frequently has like these limbs are usually weak, and you can probably build a pot with a playable hand. So in practice, this is probably fine. In theory, definitely not. And on this texture, yeah, like you don't have too much. You have backdoor flush draw and 2 weakish overcards, but this is probably not a texture which changed too much on the preflop equities, and you can still find some profitable barrels on the turn. So I think against weaker guys, it is fine to see bet, but checking is also good. The raise is fine, and this is not a situation where you want to see bet your whole range, because you open like 35% of your of all the hands from the cutoff, and the imposition player, especially if it is a bigger stack than yours, will be fairly sticky on this texture. And he also has quite a few king x hands, flush draws, backdoor flush draws. He can pressure you with on later streets. So you definitely don't want to use range c-bet here. And if you don't use the range c-bet in a situation, yeah, Baba Booey says that actually cutoff versus button, we don't want to c-bet that much. That's absolutely right. He's completely fine with this. This is what I would like to break down. So if you don't want to c-bet range in a situation, then you should always start thinking about what like kind of trap hands or what medium strong hands you should check on the flop. And given that this is one of the weakest kings you can have here, I would strongly suggest checking this. And otherwise, if you c-bet all your kings and you only check your hands which are not king x, then it's not hard to figure out what you have, because it is like the basic logic. So this is something which many beginners, or even in mid stakes, many players just don't have strong hands in their check ranges. And this is especially true in cutoff versus button, and can be really problematic. So yeah, Baba Booey is right that in general we want to check 70-80% of our range in most of the situations. Maybe on some king queen type text, but no, those also favor the imposition player. So yeah, you generally want to check a lot cutoff versus button. Yeah, and if you made a c-bet and got a call on the turn, so what? You should probably check. This turn also gave some extra equity to his like he can, like with these steps, these deep stacks, he can have some hands like 4-5-4 suited, 6-7 suited. Also some hands like pair plus flush draw, pair plus straight draw. So in general, you don't want to run too many bluffs on this turn, and therefore you should give up a lot of hands. And if you give up a lot of hands, you should have some medium strength hands which you also pretend to give up. And to go with some basic logic, this is probably not good. We face a small raise, and from this point, like you got into trouble and you are in a guessing game. I don't know your ranges to give some kind of like theoretical solution, like what hands you should call down against this bet theoretically. But yeah, you should probably only call with the very strong, like a few very strong hands you may have here, like something like 2 pairs on the turn, or some kind of like top set you played this way, or I don't think you will face too many bluffs here, but you can never know. Yeah, the call is fine, 40 BB deep, and we got into a 4-way pot, and we are right behind the original c-bettor, and we have absolutely no connection to the text, to the flop. Even our kind of outs are not clean at all. So if we get a queen on the turn and he continues barreling, do we feel good? Probably not. If we get a king on the turn, we may feel a little bit better, but still not fine. So this spiel is like kind of spewy. Probably, yeah.
These reviews are great for me to see that why sometimes I can't make the FT when it's 2 a.m. and I'm super tired and doing stuff like this. But it's good to see that.
Yeah, obviously, as we may have talked about, like the different phases of learning something. The first level is the unconscious incompetence, when you don't even know that you don't know something. And the next level is the conscious incompetence, when you know about something but you don't even know how to execute it. And in the third level is the conscious competence, when if you really focus, you don't get distracted, you are not tired, then you can execute what you recently learned. And the last stage is when like the unconscious competence, when you just like get to your car, drive home, and you don't even realize that you ever touch the steering wheel or the pedals or the gear or anything. So it was automatic. And in poker, you can often experience the difference between level 3 and level 4. When you are tired, when you are distracted, then you often my dog's like probably family is home. Yeah, whatever. Sorry for the background noise. So yeah, in poker, you often like find, especially with these reviews. Like I often do reviews for myself, like on my own tournaments, and what I see at the end is that my average match percentage is somewhere around like 86, and this. If I check those hands where I disagreed with myself, I often find the spots where I'm lazy, or where my knowledge is not steady enough. So if I play too many tables, if I play tired, if I'm slightly tilted or anything, then I tend to go sloppy and make like worse decisions. And those are decisions which are only on the conscious competence level and not on the unconscious competence level, which there is a huge difference. And what you can do to get a certain skill to the unconscious competence level is just a lot of practice and a lot of like discussion and deeper understanding on what you are doing. Thank you, Hedy, and thank you, Adrian. Yeah, I'm trying my best. Yeah, 10 use of suit is the next hand. Yeah, like with this type of hands, you can do a lot of like small or not small, but a lot of non-all-in raises. What you can achieve is that you fold out some hands like 10-6 of suit, or like stronger tens. Some hands like Jack 6 of suit, King 4 of suit, Queen Deuce of suit. Like crappy hands which are actually better than yours, and you have to select hands like this which don't have a lot to lose. So what if he limp raises and you have to fold 10 high or 10 use of suit? You don't start crying, because obviously this is a crappy hand which had very little value as checked, but can build up a lot of value or significant value as an isolation. And yeah, on this texture, we don't want to bet too much. One of the big mistakes of mid stakes and low stakes tournament players is that they put just too many chips in small blind, big blind limp pots. So yeah, even though this hand has like decent backdoors, I don't think we should start betting. Hi, Ivor. Hi, Ivor Said. Hey, welcome to the stream. He's from Twitch. Yeah, I hope you like it. On the turn, yeah, this is once again not a card that favors our range, so I don't think we should start betting here. Yeah, like we have some king X, which we check here. So on the flop, I strongly suggest checking some weak king X hands, or almost all the king X hands you have, especially if you are up against a tricky player. You can check some king X on the flop, and then you can start barreling those on the turn to back up your semi bluffs, which you can also start betting some of them on the turn. But with this hand, no equity, no real blockers. I don't think you should start betting, even though in practice it can work, because double check ranges are generally very weak in low stakes tournaments. And on the river, like, if we somehow get here, I can get behind the bluff, but I just don't think it's good. Like, it's too spewy. You will have a lot better hands to fire here with. Any hand with one heart is probably better. The 10 is somewhat relevant, but not too much. And yeah, he was tricky. He if you see a showdown like this, you definitely have to make a note, because this is something which is very contrary to the population tendencies. So normally population, first of all, they bet all their king X hands on the flop. Second, if it goes check and there are two flush draws and many other draws on the turn, they definitely bet in general. So if you see something like this can either be a super passive guy who is just super scared, but most likely this is a guy who thinks about the game, who knows that he will have a lot of like 8x hands on the turn, 6x hands on the turn, king like jack x hands on the turn. So he can probably he feels the need to protect those hands with some relatively strong hands. He double checks on the turn. So this is definitely worth a note, and you probably want to handle this player differently. Yeah, this is an interesting situation. This is a board where you probably want to have some check ranges, some check behinds, especially this shallow. The big blind can have quite a few even offsuit straight draw combinations. He can check raise all in with the bounties, and with the relatively big bounties. This is probably not true, because you can probably take any ace high combination or king queen and just bet and call if he goes all in, and hope for playing a flip type confrontation against 9-7 and 6-4 and 6-7 and those type of hands. And if they happen to have a pair, which they will often, then you still have some out. And yeah, with this big bounty, it is probably true. But given that you block the board, and this is not a texture where it's suspicious if you check behind, you want to check this almost always. Yeah, Adrian is completely right. Yeah, you just lose too much value if you see bet this. Especially this is not the texture where you always see bet. Like on textures where like ace-7 use, which is a super dry texture, and it is kind of suspicious if you don't see bet. So if you have pocket sevens, so set of sevens on an ace-7 use, I strongly suggest you to see bet your pocket sevens, because first of all, you don't block the top pair, so they will pay you off, and on the other hand, you may get some like bluff check raises or light pills, etc. Because they don't get suspicious just because you see bet an ace-high use, ace-7 use, but on this texture, it is different, and given that you have top set. Yeah, the next hand is ace king suited, and somehow decided to make 6x open.
That was misclick.
Yeah, probably misclick, because I didn't see this from you, but It worked good, but it would have worked anyway, and yeah, it turned out to be unlucky. And yeah, I don't see how we put money into the pot here. Maybe this was the point where you ended up one tabling and you wanted to just spew some, or is it possible that you were in the mood to like?
Because I remember I busted the $22 one deep aces against kings, so I wasn't in the perfect mood.
Yeah, like obviously, like at this point, I think we have to consider some motivation like keys. First of all, if you are a professional player and you play a wide range of buy-ins, but you live on this and you register a tournament to make profit, then it is a very, very important skill to actually take your lowest buy-ins very, very seriously, because you can build up day savers from low stakes tournaments much easier than in a high stakes tournaments or in the highest buy-ins of yours. And also, if you consider the opportunity costs in different levels, if you take a marginal stack of situation in a low stakes tournaments, that's a bigger mistake than taking a marginal stack of situation in a high stakes tournaments, because high stakes you don't have much opportunity cost. Your opponents are strong, so you will have a tough time later on in the tournament anyways. But if you play your lowest buy-ins, you probably have a huge edge, and therefore you don't want to gamble too much. So this is one thing which almost all the tournament players do wrong, that they gamble in their lowest stakes tournaments and they take their highest buy-ins super seriously, and they like, this is just a fundamental mistake. And but given your situation that you are a recreational player at this point, and therefore you kind of have the right to decide that, hey, tomorrow is a working day and I just want to sleep more than running up this $2 tournament. But in general, like what I want to emphasize is that you still have to find your clear motivation for playing poker, because otherwise you will end up catching yourself in a lot of like frustrated situations. So as a recreational tournament player, this is sad news, but I have to tell you that even like top tournament pros I know, they often have break-even or losing periods for 5,000 tournaments or even 10,000 tournaments, even if they have very steady win rate in the tournaments they play. So if your win rate is not that steady, then it can easily happen that you break even for 2-3 years or even longer. So if you decide to evaluate your poker skills based on your results, you will get nowhere. Like it is absolutely not realistic to expect any profit as a recreational player. If you decide to take poker seriously, but you know that the amount of time you can invest into the grind is limited, therefore the volume is limited, then you have to find like other type of motivations. Like let's say we identify 3 types of like your 3 biggest mistakes this session, like calling too wide from the small blind, making a little bit too much C bets, too many C bets out of position, or using too big bet sizes in position for C bets. So far, probably these are the 3 biggest takeaways from this session. Then your goal should be for the next session to identify these 3 mistakes, make a sticky note, and at the end of the session, ask yourself, was I able to execute my plan? Was I able to make fewer mistakes in these situations which we identified? And yeah, if you succeeded, then you should tap your shoulder, and you should be very proud about yourself, and you should know that eventually, on the long run, if you always focus on your 3 biggest mistakes and you constantly fix them, then you will have a much better chance to actually get lucky, and somehow once in a while you find yourself on a Sunday Million final table or anything, which can happen. But if you just repeating your mistakes, your chances to even you may get that magic run, which is necessary to make a Sunday Million final table for anyone, and your skill level is just not at high enough to execute and take your opportunity and actually score a real big one. Yeah. So back to this Queen Jack offsuit hand. Yeah, I get that you want to gamble, but this is still a very, very clear fold. So yeah, whatever. Maybe it was a misclick, and then all this speech was useless. But yeah, when this happens to check the side, it's often a sign that we have a cache bug. So in this case, if you are in Chrome, you should press Ctrl plus F5, which clears the cache, and then it will get better. 1 second. So you can see it's already faster. And could you help me which hand it was? Queen Jack.
Gotta go more down a little bit more down.
Yeah, this one probably.
Yeah, right
there. And I have to select my name from the roll down to see my match percentages. By default, it shows the average match percentages, but yeah, if I select my own name, then it shows my matches. No, this is not the one.
Nah, we were later.
Mm-hmm.
Probably around hand 60 or so, 70, something like that.
Yeah.
We have these.
Yeah, 5-4 suited.
Yeah.
Thank you, Baba Booey. Yeah, and yeah, I understand and I appreciate your willing to play pots, but I don't think with 15 big blind you can profitably overcall this. Obviously we all love to see flops and make plays post flop, but this is just not profitable. So if you have at least 45 big blinds like him, or especially if covering him, then this call is perfectly fine. You can even raise then, because then you can fold out a lot of better hands from the blinds, and you can still play profitably against the limper. But 14 big blinds, 15 big blinds, you will not be able to use your positional advantage. Your positional advantage grows as the stack depth grows, and if these stacks are shallow, like now there is 30 or not 24,000 in the pot and you have 68,000, this is not what you can really exploit.
I think most of the people watching after these hands, they're gonna tag me as a fish. That's fine.
Don't worry, we are going to take advantage of those notes in a few weeks or months. Yeah, you probably have to fold. On this texture, both of the blinds can find a lot of connection, and even if they just call, you will be in very terrible shape, and also you don't even really beat the original better. So, and you don't have clear outs, you don't have backdoor flush draw, your backdoor straight draw is really crappy. So you just have to fold, even if the odds are great. On the turn, maybe a 1 BB bet if we got here, or 2 BB bet can can be okay, but I'm just afraid we are going to pay off or put money into the pot against ace-4, ace-7, king-7 type hands too much. Adrian is saying that I had a 2-day running gold session in the $33 Monster Series. One hand, I did bad decision out of tilt and I was out. Really disappointing. $500 USD cash when I could have cashed for 1K plus. Yeah, that happens. But still, like, I may have said this, but we don't. I really believe that we don't really have decisions. Like I don't believe in free will. We are more like in stages. As we already discussed, different stages of knowledges. Like if you take a set of skills which are necessary to poker, like these are skills, not just technical skills like how to play certain spots, but also like life skills, like how to manage your blood sugar level, or like eating normally, taking your breaks, getting up from your seat and making some push-ups, just make a walk, some jumps, whatever, just to get your blood circulating, and also all these other things which are skills, definitely skills in poker, especially in the highest levels where you have to stay focused, and this can make real difference. Like your skill level is X, but these kind of life skills, like meditation, doing sports, keeping your self-confidence high by doing sports, by being conscious in your life, by taking some hours every day to find joy in your life. Like this was a real breakthrough in my career when, like, if this may be too much rambling, let me know if you get annoyed with this. But the real breakthrough in my career was when I actually started to take a few hours every day before the session to have some joy. Like at that time, I lived in Malta, so we often went to the beach with the family just to have some fun. And for me, like, for my personality, this worked much better than any kind of like serious warm up to the session. Because when your habit is to do warm up, like running HRC calculations before the session, this can fire back in two ways. First of all, you can get tired, like you use mental energy to run those calculations, and your brain just simply gets tired. And by the end of the session, when you need your brain the most, in final table situations, etc., you are already tired and you are supposed to make mistakes. This is one point against it, but the other one is some kind of entitlement guilt you can experience. Like, hey, I did X amount of calculations, simulations before the session, so I'm entitled to win more flips or to have some kind of success in my session. And this happened to me a lot. Like I felt terrible after like I started the session. I lost my first, like, whoever knows how many flips, and then I felt absolutely exhausted, unfair, like really disappointed that, hey, I did this much work and all for nothing. And instead, when you start, like before the session, you go out, have some fun, even just like go for a walk, and you feel relaxed. You kind of also feel like hey, I've been lazy before the session, so during the session I have to stay focused. And especially true for the last few hours of the session where your real decisions are made. There you have to be focused. So where did I start this?
But I think that's a great lesson for life too, because it was like an athlete as well. Like you train and you're supposed to hit the winning shot, but in life as well, like you don't supposed to get nothing. Like you do the work and you may get it, you may not. That's the beauty of life, not just poker. So that's exactly how you say every lesson we have, that it's not just poker, like we're learning life stuff. So
like I really believe that the biggest benefit of having been a poker player is that it prepares for life like more than any other game. You experience the ups, the downs, all the challenges which normal people experience maybe at the age of 50 or 60. Or many people not even experience ever, like what it takes to have like $1 million up year and then losing another $1 million the next year. Yeah, this is
Which part you love more, winning tournaments or putting in the work? Which one you love more, like winning a WSOP bracelet or the grind part? Because when I play basketball, like for me, the success wasn't playing in front of 8,000 people. It was more like going to the gym and getting the grind on every day. I think that's where the enjoyment.
Well, like if I'm very honest, like winning a bracelet and the bracelet ceremony itself, and like they play your national anthem, and like 3,000 players are standing for you. That's just a lifetime experience. Like I'm not gonna lie, that's amazing, and also the relief of stress and whenever I won a live tournament, I just collapsed, like literally lied on the floor for 2-3-4 minutes, and yeah, so that feeling is very unique, and I don't want to lie that I enjoy running HRC simulations or PIO simulations more than those moments. But yeah, on the other hand, what defines you as a player, like anyone can win a tournament, really. Like you have to, like, especially like since I have checked this out and I regularly do tournament reviews, it helps me realize like how little knowledge you need to actually win a tournament. Really, you just have to pick some coolers from the right side, or you have to get lucky in some key spots, and you have to win a bunch of flips. Obviously, if you size your bets good, then that increases your chances a little bit, and you can do a lot on the long run to increase your chances. But one specific tournament given, anyone can win it, really. And yeah, but if you are a tournament player for 10 years, 15 years, that what defines you is, and you cannot rely on like maybe I will be more lucky than the others. That's not how it works, obviously. And what you can be kind of proud of is the work you committed, and that you were like able to adjust to all the changes. Like looking back, like I started playing poker in 2005, and back then, like if you had some like 2 straight thoughts, then you were already a winning player, probably. Nowadays, if you want to start poker, it is like a real profession already. Like you have to be really focused. Your mental skills are really tested. You have to be very efficient with how you allocate your time, how you decide what you work on. So that's why many players say that, hey, poker is dead, but it is not. It is just grown up to an age where it's like a real profession. Many players say that this is too much work. This is not what I started playing poker for, and this is fine. Like if you started playing poker for like lying on the beach and occasionally playing some tournaments and hitting big scores, then probably, yeah, poker is that for you. But if you are a really diligent person who wants to improve and wants to have a job which enables you to improve on your own pace, yeah, this is fine. But whatever, like yeah, this actually brings up another like major challenge of poker, is that in poker no one tells you to stop. Like you know that the whole day is ahead of you, and you can do as many simulations as you can watch coaching videos, you can review hands on check decide. You can run PIO simulations. You can talk to your friend about certain situations. You can study your database, etc. And this is like really scary that that some guys somewhere in either Eastern Europe or in Asia or whatever, they are doing all this hard work. And especially if you are on the highest levels, then if you don't do yourself, you may get the feeling that, hey, you will be behind in a few years. But yeah, still it is important to take a break every day, especially before the session, and stay focused and don't be entitled to win anything big. Yeah. On this turn, I would probably suggest a smaller sizing maybe, but whatever. Yeah, it is just too frequent that we run into these type of hands. So folding on the flop is fine. Is definitely better. Folding pre-flop, folding on the flop. Yeah. This guy limped. I don't think open limping from this position is is really a thing. I think this is more like a not well executed strategy, or not even strategy, just some kind of random limping, which is probably more of a weak hand, especially that we have an ace. So I think with 25 big blinds, we can safely just jam, and we will pick up this 20,000 chips fairly often. Yeah, if you raise, the problem is that they will call with a lot of like Queen 10 suited, 10 9 suited, 10 8 suited. Those hands perform really well against our hand, and this hand like plays terribly out of position in a non-all-in situation. So yeah, on this flop, you can approach this two ways. You can do range c-bet because this really favors your range, and then what you have to keep in mind that then you have to check your whole range on the turn. This is obviously like exploitative slightly, or too simplified, but you can probably get away with like a 12,000 bet on the flop and range check on the turn, and then they will have a hard time exploit you. Or you can divide your range on the flop and develop a check range with your weakest ace-x hands, and with some like full of aces, ace queen, or even like some other queen x hands as well. Yeah, if they bet, I don't feel really comfortable, but obviously against the 1/4 bet, I don't want to fold. On the turn, it's still really questionable. Probably we want to call because the size is too small. With the raise, I don't think we accomplished really anything. The same goes for raises as for the bets. So it is either has to be a value raise, which by definition has to be called by mostly weaker hands, which is not the case here, or has to be a bluff raise, so to fold out better hands, not the case, or has to be a protection raise, which is once again not the case, because there are very few hands, very few outs our opponent has if he's behind. So yeah, maybe you can fold out some split hands, but that's just not enough a reason. Looks slow. Yeah, it is interesting. If it wasn't a bounty tournament, I would suggest raising here, because these hands perform quite poorly in multi-way pots. But as this is a bounty tournament, I'm a little bit afraid that if he limps with something like ace 5 suited or pocket fours, pocket sevens, etc., then he limp jams those just to play for my bounty. So I would probably just overlimp, but raising is okay. I don't think raising this big is reasonable because we don't really want, like, this is kind of a value raise against his hands, or that type of raise which doesn't really mind calls, getting called. So and also this big raise incentivizes the original limper to limp jam because they can win more, and also they the limp calling is not that appealing. And yeah, on this flop, maybe we can bet small, but I feel completely fine with the check as well. We don't really fold out better hands. We don't really get called by verse, and we don't really need too much protection. So checking is fine. And on the turn, I definitely want to bet. We have every reason to believe we have the strongest hand. Yeah, Adrian is saying that he would raise that 20,000 size in the blinds only. That's reasonable. Yeah, out of position, you generally want to apply bigger raise sizes because out of position, the deep stacks generally work against you because if there are more chips to decide of, then on the later streets, the imposition player will have will be able to take advantage of this, and will be able to apply pressure on you. But if you raise big, then the stack to pot ratio goes down, and then you will have an easier time to manage the pot. You can often get all the chips in on the turn, and this is beneficial for you if you are out of position. Out of position, you generally want to play fast, and in position, you generally want to play kind of slow and delay the action to the later streets where you have more information about the range of your opponent. And yeah. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Adrian. Yeah. And yeah, but on the turn, we have really every reason to bet here. We probably have the strongest hand. He can have a ton of hands to call the bet with: ace four, ace three, pair plus flush draws, naked flush draws, etc. So yeah, that's just a clear bet. And on the river, I still think we have the best hand, and the big bet is fine. But I don't think we get too many calls there. Yeah. On this turn, I had some notes. Yeah, I have a race call chart, and I actually have an offer for whoever watches this. Let me share that with you. How can I share this with? 1 second. I have to stop sharing the screen. I have to click on share the screen, and I have to select application window. Yeah. So this is an Excel chart. Like many situations ran in Hold'em Resources Calculator, which is a solver for preflop situations. And what this Excel chart does for you is it collects the most relevant race steal ranges, and it shows you if in a certain situation you can call profitably with a certain hand. So I switched windows a little bit too early, but I will tell you what happens. So we raise with pocket fives from the cutoff, and the small blind rejams 28 big blind with 4 BB bounty on him on himself. So 28 big blind resteal, small blind versus cutoff, and we have pocket five. So we can type in 2 plus 2.2 as the open raise size, and the effective stack is 28 big blind. The pot is generally, before we raised, it is around 2.3. big blind. The bounty on the restealer is 4 big blind, calculated to 2 chips. And the opener is blind, that's 0. We are not on the blind. And the restealer is blind, that's 0.5. That's correct, because he's on this small blind. And we type in pocket 5s, what we have here. Then what this Excel does is it collects the most reasonable resteal ranges, and it shows you how to how your pocket 5s perform against these ranges in this situation with the bounty involved. So you can see that if your opponent resteals pocket 4s, ace 9 plus, ace 10 plus, king queen, then you slightly lose with this. If he also resteals king jack suited, then you already make a slight profit. And if he starts rejamming ace 7 suited as well and other like weaker aces, then you start making like decent profit. But if he's more on the tighter side, which I think it is the case here, especially in bounty tournaments, they don't really want to offer their bounty too much. So I think more reasonable is to is that something like this will happen. And in this case, with pocket 5s, you are going to lose close to 4 BB or 3 BB, which is really, really detrimental for your stack. So going back to the replayer. Yeah, so we can see that this is only profitable if the villain starts restealing hands like ace 7 suited, ace 9 of suit, king jack suited, which I don't think will happen here. So I would fold. Maybe I misclicked. So I would fold against an aggressive guy. It is a fine call, but I don't think low stakes they approach this situation aggressively enough.
Well, I was actually surprised when I checked and I saw that you would call.
Yeah. Maybe this is the only spot in this tournament run where I suggested putting in chips and you decided not to, but whatever. Well, actually, in bounty tournaments, it is kind of a skill to gamble. Like if we compare normal tournaments and bounty tournaments, bounty tournaments were created to compensate for the tendency of being a little bit too much of a gambler. So this is originally designed to help recreational players. So it's not that big a mistake if you go a little bit too loose. But you also have to consider your stack and how it changes if you happen to lose that all-in situation. Yeah, like if the guy is capped, yeah, you are absolutely right. Those X from Twitch, yeah. If he's capped, then you can do even better. Actually, this chart has let me switch back to there. Application window. This chart also has some capped ranges. So if we go with these ranges, then we can see like if he's really loose but doesn't have stronger hands than jacks or tens, then we can print with this. Like obviously these ranges are like very special formats, so you need some luck to actually find the ranges which you can really face in this situation. But maybe this range 34 is reasonable, and then you can start printing. So considering the chance that your opponent is capped is really, really important in this spot, and very, very valuable comment from Doazex. Let me pronounce this way. Maybe you are going to correct me, but thank you for the comment. And then yeah, we can really print with these pocket fives. Yeah, I created this chart to give me a quick overview whether I can make a big mistake with the code or just a small mistake. And unlike HRC, if you put one situation into HRC, you only get one answer. And whenever you want to adjust, you have to redo it again and again and again. This is also based on HRC. So we actually copy pasted the results from HRC to this Excel. But in this case, you can see all the potential ranges beside each other, and then you can probably make a better estimation whether it's a borderline call or a clear call or a clear fraud. Yeah, I actually decided to email this Excel chart to anyone who subscribes to the $9 per month premium plan of Check This Site. So if you want to get this, I definitely invested like weeks of work to this chart. So if you subscribe to the $9 per month premium plan of Check This Site, I'm going to email you like manually. That's for sure. This one I can promise. And also with the premium plan, you can upload multiple tournaments. You can make comments below the hands, and you can set your tournament runs private. You can restrict for your friends only, etc. So yeah, just hit me on Discord if you subscribe and you don't get this. I will email you. Yeah, let me share the Discord link here. 1 second. Invite people. Edit the invite link. Not to expire. Generate, copy, and paste. 1 second. Why doesn't it work? Copy. And yeah, like I have to Chrome tab, back, share, and now I can post. So this is our Discord community. If you want to get your hands reviewed, just join the channel. I personally review every hand, or if I'm not competent because it's like cash game hand or spin and go hand, I have some friends I can ask, and they will probably review those as well. Yep. All right, back to the hands, and probably we are a little bit too long. Like, how are you with time, Roland?
I'm good.
Maybe we can continue to like 9:30 European time, like
Yeah,
so,
sure.
so like another 15 minutes.
Yeah, for sure, no problem.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, with 34 big blinds against any aggressive opponents, I probably don't want to open this. But given that the small blind is with 10 big blinds, maybe I still want to open this against more passive guys. And the big blinds seem, the big stacks seem to be passive so far. So I'm fine either way. Limping is probably not the thing. Yeah. I understand, like, generally the business plan with a small pocket pair is to invest very little to see the flop, and then you can put a lot of money in when you actually see the set on the flop. But if you limp here many times, the bigger stacks will raise you, and then you have to invest a lot, and many times they just raise you with hands like king jack, king 10, ace 10, ace 9. Hence, you don't have too much implied odds against. So, so when you hit your set, you will not be able to compensate for all the money you invested with the limp calls. So I don't really like it with this sizing in a small stakes tournament with deep stacks, especially in the stack range of like 60 to 80 big blinds. You can probably get away with open limps only with small pocket pairs from early position, but this is still not something which I would like to really advise. Baba Booey suggests next time set the Twitch game as poker. More poker-orientated people will find the stream. I think I did, but maybe I did a poor job, or I forgot. I don't know. But thank you for the tip. I will check this out for sure. And yeah, on the flop we can make a tiny c bet. Like generally in position, you only want to use bigger sizings when there are a lot of turns which favors your opponent. So these are situations where, like 9-5 use. 9-5 use, if you raise pre-flop and the big blind defended, on 9-5 use, the big blind doesn't have any offsuit 2 pairs. So probably most big blinds don't defend with Queen 5 of suit, 5 use of suit, 9 use of suit. They don't defend. So therefore, you are in a big advantage as a preflop raiser on a 9-5 use. But on the turn, there are a lot of turns which like levels the field or levels the not advantage, like any hand under 9, like if a 7 comes, 6 comes, 8 comes, 7 comes, 6 comes, 4 comes, 3 comes, even if an ace comes, it is like questionable whether you still have the not advantage or not. And you want to make these turns really expensive for the opponent in these situations. And also this also enables you to run some big, very profitable bluffs with hands like Jack 10 on the 9-5 use. So this is a like classic situation for using big size c-bet. The same goes for hands flops like 10-6-4, or partially goes for spots like King 8-4, King 6-4, where on the flop you still have a huge advantage, but there are many turns which can shift the equity in the favor of the big blind. But this is not the case. Like on ace 10-3, there are barely any turns which really favors the big blind, so you don't need to bet too huge. He has a lot of garbage hands. You just want to fold out if you somehow happen to get here with in the lane pot. So you just have to bet 1 BB, and you are fine. If you happen to get a call, you probably have to shut down. I don't know why I suggested a big bet. Maybe it was a misclick, but I think just shutting it down and maybe catching the river for the occasional king jack, king queen 9, queen jack, that's probably fine. But yeah, you just want to give up on the turn. I don't like my turn bet. Yeah, this is probably a fold. You will not be able to like this hand, king 4 of suit, has terrible playability. Will not be able to realize equity too well, especially not out of position, especially not against relatively early openers. So you can call this against the cutoff and the button if they open really loose and they are not like world-class players, but you can probably not call this profitably against an early position opener. A second. And yeah, you just have to fold. And this next hand, yeah, I don't think the button will trap here too much, given that you are a smaller stack than him on the big blind. And this may sound strange, but with this hand, you often have to jam over a limp. I can totally understand that your first thought is that, hey, I got a free flop with 9-7 suited. That's fine. Like I will flop flush draw. I will turn straights or whatever. But this is not the real strength of this hand. The real strength is that if the button limped with something like King 10, King Jack, Queen Jack, Queen 9, whatever they have, a ton of better or even dominating hands he can limp with, which are forced to fold here because if you jam here with 22 big blinds, you will fold a lot. And when they happen to like trap you with something like ace king or ace queen or whatever, which is not really likely in practice, but it can happen, then you still have decent chances of winning, of getting lucky. The same goes for like if you run into aces or kings, yeah, it sucks, but you still have some playability, some winning chances with this holding. So even if you check the like Monker solver charts, you will see gems like this, and this is something which many players don't do. They are just happy to take a free flop, but these low suited connectors perform really good for jams against late position open limps, even if the open limps are fairly balanced. But this is not the case in practice, I think. Yeah, we don't get anything on the flop on the turn, but we somehow find a bet. Do you have anything to add?
Not really. I mean, I figure just the small blind gonna be really weak, and I might can get a fold from some better hands, but I don't like it much. I would check, obviously. You can represent some 4x, some 3x hands, and then you can, but it still is questionable. Like on many river, like on the turn, you will not fold out too many ace highs, and on the river, many times the river is a higher card than your 4 or 3, and you will not, like, it will not be really credible that you still value bet your 3x and 4x. So therefore, they will find some hero calls there on the river as well, because you also have some very natural semi bluffs that brick on the rivers, like 5 deuce of suit in a limp pot. You have 6-5 of suit. You have 6-7, 6-5 of suit. You all have these. So the imposition player will have a lot of reason to hero call you on many rivers. Yeah, and Baba Boo is asking whether the jam which I advised with this 9-7 suited hand still applies for bounties when we are the smaller stack. I understand that and agree that we have to be somewhat more careful with jams, but those are like more true for re-jams where you definitely don't have that much fold equity, which like in normal tournaments. But given that this is a limp pot, I think you still have a ton of fold equity, and the imposition player still have, like the button who limped still has a lot of limp folds. And I think in this exact situation, even if it's a bounty tournament and I'm the smaller stack and it's a $2 tournament, so many weird things can happen, but still I think jamming is fine. Hattie is saying that I would want them to be limp hands like 8-9, 9-7, 10-9. I usually like to have high card when showing. I don't really get what these comments are about, but if you break it down for me, I would try to answer. Yeah, and this ace queen was also somewhat questionable. I think in general you don't really want to have open pushes with 21 big blind early position. Yeah, there is some bounty on your head, but not
like super relevant, because these bounties are worth around 4 big blinds, and in general, people just don't re-steal enough, don't 3-bet enough. So you want to, you still can have some cheap steals here, and yeah, I don't want to play a push fold strategy here in low stakes tournaments. In high stakes, you may want to do more of those. Yeah, 12 VB or below, you open shove. Well, yeah, this is okay rule of thumb. In bounty tournaments, this may not be true. You may have to open shove with like 20-25 BB stacks. Even if you have a huge bounty on your hand, then you may have to adjust and play a push only strategy with 20-25 big blinds. But those are rare cases. In this situation, I think raising is fine. And in non-bounty tournaments, there are some situations, even from the button and from the small blind, where you want to play a limp and push strategy according to the Munker ranges. When shoving over limps, isn't it better to have a high card like ace or king, that as it blocks their calling range? Having 9-7, it would block the hands I would want them to limp fold, like suited connectors. Yeah, this is a very educated question, but I would still not disagree with Munker Solver. They invested a lot of computing power to get to these results, and they say those results say that unblocking his limp folds, which are offsuit broadways a lot, and some better suited connectors as well than yours, is more valuable than blocking some of the trap hands they can have. Also, if you jam something like king 4 offsuit or king 6 suited or whatever you want to jam here, those hands, when they actually run into the trap hands, they perform worse than your 9-7 suited. So yeah, you get calls slightly more often, but your equity is stronger. But if this is a final table situation or a situation with high ICM pressure, then fold equity goes more importantly than equity. So then you can make jams probably with ace deuce offsuit, ace 5 of, if ace 4 offsuit, whatever, and those are going to be more profitable than these equity type jams like 9-7 suited. Yeah. Yeah, this is an okay hand to raise the limp with, but checking is also fine. In my experience with 30-40 big blind, the limp ranges are not balanced at all. They should limp a lot of suited strong hands, offsuit strong hands as well, ace king, pocket pairs, etc. But they don't do it. So I think you can get away with slightly more aggressive raising strategy. And even against balanced ranges, the Munker big blind showed that it is profitable to raise with a ton of garbage, like really like 7 use of suit almost 100% of the time. Yeah, so raising is an option here. And on the flop, yeah, I agree with you that this is a situation where they tend to overstep the flop. So so whenever you have decent backdoors, it is fine to peel with or raise with them. But I think raising is somewhat better. You have much more immediate fold equity. and you have some. You don't forget you have some hands, like surprisingly strong hands, like a deuce of suit, which you have, a deuce suited you have, ace deuce of suit, ace deuce of suit, ace deuce suited you have, probably even ace eight. You may not raise all the time, so you have some strong hands. I'm not saying you have a ton, but you in these situations, if we put these hands into like PioSolver or any other GTO type solution, you generally will see a surprising result that they don't use these occasional strong hands to strengthen their limping range, but they use them to strengthen their calling range, but they use them to fast play and put some backdoor type bluff raises behind. So and in practice, they tend to overstep these spots, so you will have much more immediate fold equity. So I strongly suggest raising here a lot. The only thing that concerns me is the bet sizing, which is slightly bigger than the average. They tend to use smaller sizes when they are weak, and this biggish size is a little bit concerning, but whatever, you can probably still raise. And if they check this, I think you cannot apply like tiny bets. By tiny bets, you say that, hey, I have a ton of strong hands here, and I also put my really strong hands here into this small bet, because therefore I can balance the ranges or whatever. Like you are saying that this turn and this texture in general favors my range a lot, so therefore I only have to use small sizes. This is not the case here. Here you generally have 8x hands and 2x hands and 5-4 for a gut shot or hands like that, and some occasionally slow played ace-x hands, 2 pairs, whatever. And he has some, like, quite a few give ups, but he also has some like strong 8x. He somehow bet on the flop, and then now he checks, and we want to put pressure on those as well. He may also have some king x, which he check raises against a small bet, but check folds against a big bet. So I would suggest betting very infrequently here, very, very rarely here, and betting big when you actually bet here, because your value bets are really strong here, like 2 pairs mainly, and you should use them to put pressure with your draws as well. So yeah, in practice they will probably not punish you for the mistaken sizing, but I think you have to use bigger. Yeah, and let's cut the stream here. I hope you liked it, guys. If you do, then please follow me also on Facebook, on YouTube. It helps a lot. Also, if you would like check this out to grow, then subscribe to the $9 per month premium plan, because I add detailed commentary to tournament runs every week. So I try to serve with a lot of value, and it helps developing the platform. We have some really crazy plans how to go further with the project. And yeah, many thanks to Rolly for sharing this tournament with us. And I hope you found some valuable feedback here. And yeah, we will see. Like, maybe we can continue next week, or maybe later on if you are in, and we can see the rest of the tournament. In the meantime, if someone wants a spoiler, they can find you in the like under the name M.J and all these numbers. I guess this goes for Michael Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely, Michael Jordan.
Oh, okay, great. So this way everyone can remember. So MJ 2606 Trey 8. That's the username of Rolly. Yeah. All right. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. I'm off now, my voice is off now, so I have to cut this stream. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this new series. And if you like it, share it with your friends, and be here the next time, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. probably, but definitely Tuesday. But the exact time is it depends on the guest. We also have some huge scores coming soon from a few friends of mine. So stay tuned, and yeah, see you in the platform, see you in the Check Decide Discord channel, whatever, hit me. If you have any question about Check Decide, feel free to direct message me in Discord. If you have any questionable hand, put it to our Discord channel, and yeah, see you there. Bye-bye. Thank you, Rolly, once again. I really appreciate it.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.